Name's King, and I figured I would do have a conversation or have a little discussion about some of the things that I've been seeing, even with my uh, friend group of people that I play with, either online or interact with in my personal life, and the issues that are going on with, I would say, young men that are looking for purpose, looking for help, but not knowing where to find them, and then going to these places that aren't in their best interest trying to help them, but actually just trying to get money out of them. Um, I know everybody's going to think I'm going to just jump to the whole Andrew Tate thing. Realistically, the manosphere has its positives and negatives. And I think the issue with the current state of the manosphere is it's moved way too far away from where its roots were and where it started, which truly stems from helping men help themselves. And now it's so much of a grift because there's so much money to be made in that space. I think a lot of people enter it. I think early on people entered it trying to help one another. But then once they realized that they could make, I mean, buku bucks hand over fist, they just jumped in with both feet and were just like, I don't care. I'll sell these simps anything because instead of simping for some girl, they're simping for me and they're sending me all their money and they're sending me all their spending all their time on me, listening to every word, dangling off of every word I say. And the issue with that is a lot of these guys are no longer providing genuine benefit or value to the people that they should be catering to. Because in true essence, keeping it a buck, like if I wanted to start helping and aiding uh men, which I kind of want to do. I want to help my fellows out because there is a struggle out there. I'm not going to say that it's like made up or that there aren't things that are going on in the world that we live in that do make it difficult to be expressive or find a place of validation. Um, then I wouldn't want somebody in my space for a long time. I want to be able to assist them, help them, and help them get to a point where they're able to help themselves. I'd want them to be in a position where they're comfortable enough with however long the distance is or the journey is that they then feel like, oh, I can either seek professional help or, oh, I can, I'm doing better myself and I've done these certain things, had these certain issues that I was dealing with and I'm not dealing with them as much. And I mean, these other manosphere entities, people just kind of leech on these people that need genuine help, that want to better themselves, or going to these people that are giving them breadcrumbs, and in the long run, just feeding them really, really, really jacked up ideologies and messed up things. Like again, the original bare bones manosphere stuff, legitimately, I think had a place. I'm not gonna front. I think telling a guy, hey, you're a dude, you need to be in shape. You're a dude, you need to be a provider. You need to be able to you have something about you, whether it be charming, be funny, have looks, be financially stable, all those things, you know what I mean? I think those things aren't bad because at the end of the day, they're not like toxic masculinity and all those other buzzwords or whatever. It's things that whether you come from a strong fathered household or a fatherless home, those are just intrinsic values that we try to instill in our culture and in our society to like make to bolden oneself and big each other up. And I think what ends up happening is because these guys are making so much money and flipping people or like making a quick buck, they're just feeding them the most bare bones things that catch their most reactionary mind. So if there's a dude who thinks that the reason why women don't like them isn't their fault, then it's easy to then go, well, women are the problem. Women are the issue. Women's the reason why, versus saying, hey, yo, you need to figure this out yourself. You need to take some time to grow independently and grow individually. So then that way, when it comes to finding a woman, finding a girl, finding someone that you want to, settle down with, that you want to create a family with, or you want to have a relationship with, because it doesn't have to go as far as like a family, but someone like partnership, friendship, relationship is very important to us as human beings. Very, very important to us. We need to have that sense of companionship. We're a communal species. Hence why like sociopaths and psychopaths are misnomers, are, anomalies in our thing. Like people, idolize them because they want to be those things in certain aspects, not like serial killers or anything like that, but they want to be able to say, oh, well, I don't care what people say. I don't care. That doesn't affect me. But at the end of the day, it really does. It affects people in a grand way because we're human beings. Like, and as guys, we generally don't have an outlet. We don't have a place where we can, you know, genuinely, like, outside of maybe like your best friend, outside of your best friend, and keeping it a buck, outside of your best dude friend, because I know there's a lot of guys that have female friends that aren't like sexual or anything like that, but like showing that side of vulnerability or being opening up to yourself honestly is really really difficult. And if you listen to some of these dudes that are out there trying to basically milk money and get money out of you, then you're gonna think that like, oh no, you can't be vulnerable at any time. Like you always gotta have this big front of like you got it going on, you're doing it the best, and you're doing it the most. And at the end of the day, like you're a human being. Like your life is a roller coaster ride. It's gonna have ups, it's gonna have downs. Like I'm independently successful, right? And I measure my own success by having a roof over my head, being able to feed myself, being able to support any endeavor that I want to do, whether that's help my mother out, my family out, my father out, my sister, hang out with friends. That's my success. I don't need, a Lamborghini. I don't need a mansion. I'm very comfortable and happy with my success. I could become more successful and I would, change my metric and stuff, but I don't look at myself or consider myself a failure. I'm in relative shape. I can always be in better shape. You could always be doing better, but at the end of the day, you have to be happy with what you're doing, right? Can white people be in here? Of course. This is a safe place for the whites. Don't worry. This is a safe place. If you're tuning in, I might make this a YouTube video. I might not. This is twitch.tv/call underscore me king. And that's twitch.tv/call underscore me king. And if you're also here, you can subscribe, like all this other stuff that you do for YouTube uh, algorithms and all that other stuff. But real talk, at the end of the day, like I think realistic, it gets tricky, right? Because culturally and societally, we're conditioned to be a certain kind of way, even though times are like changing and things are shifting. When you get to the brass tacks of it all, it's just not there. Like keep it a buck, it's just not there. Like guys aren't going out and like having heart to heart like deep cries with their girlfriends or their wives or their fiancés or anything like that. Guys are barely doing that with other dudes. We're bottling up a lot of this tension, a lot of this, you know, and it makes it really really difficult to to push to that next level, to push to that next position or point that you're trying to be in, only because you feel the weight. And I think that's part of being a man, that certain aspects of society are trying to change and certain aspects of society are taking advantage of. Hey, yo, thank you. Oh yeah, thank you for the prime subscription, Cinder. I appreciate you. You know you're my dude. Um, am I wearing eyeliner? I am not wearing eyeliner. I just naturally have these darker lines out of my eyes. I wish I had an answer for you beyond that, but that actually is just the way it is. But at the end of the day, I think helping each other out, being there for one another as guys without being like judgmental but understanding, because we all have different walks of life, like, and I think the hardest part is understanding that somebody else's walk of life or somebody else's path isn't either the same as yours, whether good or bad, right? So you might have somebody who has a jacked up family life, and you think, okay, we're older now, you don't got to worry about your parents, you're on your own. But like a faulty foundation, just like anything else in this world, like if you build a house, like they say, the house that's built on sand is going to crumble, where the house that's built on rocks is going to stand, right? So when you're talking about that house that's built on sand, that shouldn't be an embarrassment. It should be like, okay, as dudes, what do? We build stuff. We will go in and help another dude out, help another friend out, help another brother out, and help build that foundation up. And I think we lose track of that when you start hearing and talking about all these guys about you're either a winner or a loser. Yes, that's how games work, but life isn't a game. Like you can be, again, success is subjective. You know what I mean? There's no objective winner and losers in life because life isn't a game. You just gotta do your best to be your best. And I think we're put on here to kind of like leave a legacy. We're put on this planet um kind of to help other people, right? If you're good and centered, uh is really subjective. Is success really subjective? Yeah, because you got to think, depending on where you're at in your life, success is you measure your own success, right? Like, because we generally, I play League of Legends with my friends and all that other stuff. If you've never made it out of iron, if you've been iron for 4 years and you're like, this game is super hard and I hate it, and you finally make it to bronze, or God, you make it to silver, you've automatically, boom, that's successful. You've climbed beyond where you thought you were. Whereas somebody who's always made it to challenger, or somebody who's always a diamond level player, if they're stuck in like gold or platinum, they're where their level of where they're distraught, your level of success is going to be differently, right? My sobriety is, dude. You already know, Chuck. For real. You already know. Like, you're my guy, man. Chuck. I've known Chuck for, this is probably going on a decade now. Maybe a little less. It has to be around. It has to be around 10 years. And I mean, we were wild back in the day, and we've toned down. And Chuck changed his whole life around. You know what I mean? Shout out to your sis. Love her to death too. Um, I don't know if you saw me out this weekend. I was doing the stuff. 2020. Yeah, man. Like, legit. Yeah, it's been a decade. Yeah, it's been 10 years. But yo, I'm proud of you, for real, my guy. For real. And and at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I think, like I said, we're put on here to build each other up, to help each other, because at the end of the day, we want a better world. We want to leave this world better than we got here, right? Right? That's what we want to do at the end of the day. We want to leave this world better than we got here. And I think where it gets fuzzy or hazy is people have different ideas of what that means. And I guess I'm looking at it as the most kind of like generic, uh harm reduction, better good for all. It's the best way I can put it. Because in that realm, in that regard, it's libertarian to an extent if we're using like political compass, where it's like, as long as you're not imposing or impeding another person's liberty or freedom or independent value, and you're still being able to uplift yourself and uplift others around you, then I'm saying have at it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're not harming or hurting anybody else, and you're doing things now. Though, not going back to the fundamentals, the foundation of stuff like that. What do we do? Nobody's watching. Is what, yes, is what we'll reap. Yeah, no, that's the truth. Because anyone and everyone can put on a show. Like, even now, I can put. I'm live right now. I could be saying all this stuff, and then I like turn off the cameras and go commit crimes and go do all sorts of crazy stuff. And then you see my name in the news, and people be like, "That's crazy. He was talking all this stuff, and then look how he was in the streets. Look how he was when he was out there." Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, um, oh, I just lost my train of thought on the point that I was about to make. But that was valid though, because you're right. Literally, who you are in private, and when no one's watching, when no one's around, somebody somebody left some extra change or dropped $100 bill. You know what? It's no big deal. I saw who dropped it, but they probably don't care. Let me put that in my pocket. That's, versus being like, hey, yo, man, you dropped this. And then, dapping them up, giving them back the money, and then being appreciative. They might just say, oh, thank you. You know what I mean? I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, yes. I'm starting rough on you. Wahahaha. Oh, no, no. That's because I just go on tangents sometimes. It's not a you thing. I go on tangents, and then I have to kind of go back through the tangents to figure out where I was. Um, let's see. What is Jesus? Well, that's aggressive. But if that's what you would expect, then hey, if $100, you know what? $100 for a good time with you, Cinder, then that's all that we'd want. You know what I mean? Giggity. But yeah, no, keeping it like, just being honest, being real. Um, I guess the reason why I'm even having this kind of talk is like I've talked to some of my buddies and a few friends and had like face to face conversations as well as online and stuff like that. And it's just like, don't believe the hype of what some of these people that you see your get rich quick gurus and stuff like that, because some of them are independently wealthy. Some of them have external income and means, so they have fu money. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to adhere to general or normal societal norms. But for the most part, majority of people don't have that. We don't have that outlet. We don't have that ability to just turn around and say, you know, Instagrammy worthy. Right. Like they live a life that on the outside is extraordinary. Whereas like we live general lives. We game, we go out when we can, we see our friends when we can. Sometimes your job bogs you down, and that's always what a joy when you're stuck at the 9 to 5 or the 5 to 9, whichever way you're doing it, man, you're doing it. But at the same time, you're doing those things because you're helping. That's actually what I wanted to also talk on. Sometimes you're not getting fulfillment out of your 9 to 5, and if your life is enveloped or wrapped around your 9 to 5, then and you're not getting fulfillment out of that, you actually end up feeling more loss. You know what I mean? Like if your job is providing you enough income to be like independently or to be financially stable, not independently wealthy, but financially stable, so that way you can do the things that you enjoy and fulfillment versus income. Right, yeah. And find the ways to just enjoy the life that you're living, then generally that job or that career that you've gone down will be helpful for you in that sense. But I think when your life is wrapped around your job and your job isn't fulfilling, it becomes that dead end job. It becomes that, you know, oh, that grueling, you're working for the weekend because you're so, you go to work and you hate it and you hate your life and you're hating every moment of it because your life is your work and your work sucks. And it's like, how do you get out of that cycle? And for a lot of people, getting out of that cycle is literally probably one of the hardest things to do, because quitting your job isn't as easy as waking up and being like, F you, F you, F you, F you, you're cool, F you, I'm out. Like, we all wish we could do that at different points in times in our lives, right? But it's like that just doesn't happen generally. You gotta grit and bear. You gotta wake up, do your get to work, do what you gotta do. But I think one of the things that none of these gurus or whatever tell you to do, and how I was able to kind of like insulate myself from just having to have a 9 to 5, but also being able to have like my own career set, right? Is I always had the mindset of being like, okay, I'm utilizing my main job to fortify my side hustle, right? Until my side hustle it has a strong enough foundation to make it my main job. And then once that becomes my main job, I find a new side hustle, so that way I can kind of keep on doing that. And while I'm doing that, I'm building and progressing on skills to develop to make me like more marketable to different companies, or more marketable to organizations, things of that nature. So besides like DJing, I do photography. And then with photography, I just got a drone, so now I'm learning how to pilot a drone myself, learning how to fly one, learning the rules and regulations, getting the hold on, make sure my cat doesn't turn off the computer because he's done that a number of times. And learning what the regulations and licensing processes and all that other stuff to have that under my belt, you know. Yes, the federal aviation or air aviation license, all that. So you want to make sure that you're going, because different states have different regulations, different locations. All in all, like, utilize your main gig to support your side gig. So like, let's say you want to, I don't know, be a painter, paint houses. You want to do some federal aviation mission. Thank you, Ian. You want to be a painter. What you should be doing is going out. So if you're working your 40 hours or 60 hours or even 80 hours, if you're working 80 hours a week, you need to figure out, is that 80 hours fulfilling? I'm gonna keep it a buck. If you're working 80 hours a week, I want you to take time to figure out, is that 80 hours fulfilling? Because I don't know a job in the world. Honest to God, I don't know a job in the world that could take 80 hours out of my life a week and keep a smile on my face. You know what I mean? Elon, I don't think let's not talk about Elon, cuz Elon is a good front man for Tesla, but I don't think he's genuinely dropping 80 hours a week just on Tesla, because that's what, between Tesla, Boring Company, and SpaceX, right? And I would say realistically, if he's a good CEO, he's probably doing like 3 hour. He's probably doing like 5 hours a week on each of those three for 15, and then doing like another 10 of board slash engagement related stuff. But if he wants to spend 80 hours a week being the whatever, that's on him. Like I said, I don't really want to get into Elon. That'd probably be a whole video for itself. You probably have to just reorganize your position to think, okay, I'm here for 80 hours a week. How am I supposed to? Because there's only what, like there's 100 and some hour, 150 some hours in a week. I'll pull out a calculator because I'm tripping. What, 24 times 7? 168. Sorry, not 58, 68. 168 hours in a week, right? So if you're working 80 of those, so that's one minus, that gives you 88. So what are we going to assume? Are we going to assume that there's not transportation. Yeah, commute. Commute to where you're working, right? So now you're looking at like 60 hours. Then you got to sleep. You have to sleep, so you have no time for yourself. So if you're working like 80 hours a week, figure out whether it's actually worth it. Figure out if it's achieving the goal that you want. If you're working 80 hours, and you know what I mean? Yes, I think the average person, you and I, most other people, don't work 80 hours for very long, right? Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I was just kind of like doing the math on it. Like, that's because you have no time for yourself. But realistically, you want to utilize that 40 to 60 hours, because I think like that's reasonable with commute and overtimes and stuff like that. Like, that's just where you're going to end up, right? And then you want to say, okay, I'm utilizing this time to develop this 20 hours or this 40 hours of my side hustle. I think that makes sense, right? And then you have, like said, the rest of the time to sleep and eat and go out, eat, see friends. But if you want to really hit the ground running and hustle and grind, then you're probably cutting out some of those friends things, right? You're probably cutting out some of those social things. You're probably not going to be playing as many games. You're going to, or unless gaming is the thing that you're trying to do, then you're going to be looking at gaming at a very, very different and dynamic way, right? So like I said, it's a function thing. You just have to really take time to figure out if what you're doing is getting you to the goal that you're looking to achieve. And like I said, again, these gurus and stuff, they won't tell you to like compartmentalize things for success. They'll just tell you, oh, if you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you're a failure and you're not a real man. And it's like, I'm sorry about you, bro. Like, if that's your classification of a real man, then maybe you're not a real man yourself. Whatever that means, you know what I mean? Like, Summit 1G's kid monster 11 to 14 hour a day, 7 days a week. Right? Yo, Summit 1G is built different though. I've not seen his streams in a really, really long time, but like, I don't know, like 5 years ago, it was him and a few other people that we had on rotation at the house. So um and then going back to that compartmentalizing of time and effort, you need to also take a sec to like take a step back to understand the value of the relationships that you're building. Like, there are people that you're going to have in your life that come and go, and there are people that are going to be in your life that stay, and there are people that are going to be that you want in your life that shouldn't be, and people that shouldn't be in your life that you want. I mean, for the most part, this is where you probably get into like relationship conversations and stuff like that. And this is where these gurus really hammer it home about how women are bad and women are the devil and women are the worst, and they just want to abuse you and use you and take your money, and it's gonna be the end of the day, end of days, and don't, bro. let's keep it a buck. If that is how the world actually works, if that's how the world actually worked today, yesterday, yesteryear, we wouldn't have a society, we wouldn't have a culture. Because what? Like there just wouldn't be a such thing as marriage. There just wouldn't be such thing as relationship. Because every woman in the world would be looking to just bump and dump the guy that they're with. Like right? Yeah, we'd all be dead. It'd just be like, okay, well I guess there's only one guy that gets all the girls because that's just how the society works. So clearly these guys are feeding like a false narrative because it helps with the people that are so angry and pent up and mad. Stop it, buddy. My cat just took a picture with the camera. That's really, really funny. Um, but at the end of the day, you as an individual shouldn't be basing your value off of one, what other people think, um, and off of the perceived notion of like elevated status. Like if you don't have a girlfriend or if you're not married or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're like a loser. It doesn't mean that you're whatever. You may not be at a point in your life where like you can have one, keep one, obtain one, maintain a relationship. You just literally might not be there yet because you have to take a second and realize that they're people. Like I know that's crazy, especially if you've only listened to, I don't know, Fresh and Fit and stuff like that. But they're people. Like, yes, women are people. So they also have to be in a position to be accepting of you in whatever stage of life that you're in. Because generally you think like you have to be at your best to be able to find a suitable mate and stuff like that. And I think that's a good position to put yourself in so that way you're comfortable with yourself and you're not trying to find somebody to help fix you, right? But at the same time, I don't know, like a 85 out of 100, a 90 out of 100 is a pretty okay place to be in and to start a relationship, to start dating, start talking to somebody, to start enjoying the company of another person. Like that's not a bad place to be, right? Um and again, I think like my bone to pick is that these guys just like make it seem like you either women are the worst thing in the world, or you just have to sleep with as many women as you can, and they miss this whole value of like how relationships just work. Like and then they do this weird psychoanalysis of like, oh, I need to be able to and I should sleep with as many women as possible. But like if a girl has more than like five bodies, then she's a hoe and she's for the streets. And it's like, oh, okay, you're weird. Like I think that's weird. And that might be where I get a little prejudiced. Because I'm like, I think that's weird. I think it's weird that dudes are obsessed with virgins because that's weird to me. And age is weird to me. Like when they're obsessed with like young girls, that's weird to me. Like I don't know a ton of dudes that are like I don't personally like the circle I keep, the group that I'm with, just like women. Period. As long as you're like of age and consenting, we like you. We're not like, oh, we need an 18-year-old. We need a girl who was literally in high school yesterday. Like that's not the MO. You know what I mean? Like, and I know like the like again, we're not like child chasers, right? And then at the same time, it's like I'm not like I don't know. I'm not digging in people's histories. I have my own history. People come from different walks of life. Like as long as everything's honky dory, like functionally, I guess, no STDs and all that other stuff. For me personally, no baby daddy drama. I'm not trying to like have to deal with another dude's kid slash him, primarily him, because that's like a whole headache. Like if you're out of the kid's life, but then your girl gets a new man and you're all of a sudden like, hey yo, don't be talking to my kid no kind of crazy way. Bro, we gonna have problems. So I'm not having that nonsense in my life. I'm not welcoming unnecessary drama in my life. And that's me personally. That's the decision that I've made, right? But that's not devaluing a woman, in my opinion. That's like not dealing with boneheaded dudes that don't want to step up and take care of their responsibility. Now, yeah, there may be some issues and some drama between him and her, but maybe he should have vetted a little bit better. Like it's not that hard. I'm just keeping it a buck. It's really not that hard. Um, and I mean, if you guys have opinions on that, let me know. I'd love to. I would really, really love to hear opinions on that one because, like, I think people really do get it twisted. Like, women aren't the end all be all evil, but a kid being around gives you extra excuse to game. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right, man. You're a thinker. See, I wasn't even thinking about it. You'd be like, "Hey, yo, you trying to hop on the sticks?" And then it gives you an extra point of dominance when you crush them in every single game. All right, all right. I might have to recant my point. You might have actually just brought up about crushing kids in video game is the single greatest joy. No, no, no. But seriously, um, if we're gonna hold women accountable, we got to hold ourselves accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable more in the sense of if we're doing the right thing, like personally. Like I said, it's fine to focus or to think about getting yourself in shape, exercise. Well, I think it just comes down with feeling good as far as like diet, like making sure you're not ingesting a bunch of crap or gorging or overeating. You get yourself figure out what diet works for you, what diet works for your blood type, what diet works for your activity level. Excuse me, whether if you're working a ton, you're gonna need like high carbs, how many steps you're getting in, right? For me, I mean, I jog 2 to 4 miles a day, basically, and that's if I'm like, that's even if I'm performing or not, right? So on stage, I have no idea how many calories I'm burning. I should, like, Apple Watch is not really the best thing. I should put on a Fitbit for a show or whatever, but realistically, for between that exercise component before the exercise component, making sure that you're internally regulated, right? So you make sure you're eating right, drinking right. Drink water. Everybody memes it now, drink water, but like, water is good for you. I personally don't like the taste of water. Now that's my controversial hot take. I don't like the taste of water. Some people go, water doesn't have a taste. I'm like, if I put a can of juice, a can of water, can or bottle of juice, bottle of water, bottle of milk in front of you, close your eyes until you drink them all, you know which one the water is because it tastes like water. Water has a flavor. Now, some water tastes better than other. If I were to put Dasani, Fiji, Aquafina, all sorts of, bro, you'd be like, oh, ooh, you taste the difference in the waters themselves, right? Don't forget, gotta have that spirit right. That too, we're getting there, right? Because this is before the stuff that you can do physically, right? Well, I guess we are talking about the physical portion because you're eating and stuff, consumption. But I guess we're working on the inside out, right? But yeah, you want to make sure that your health is right, in that sense, and that your mind and body, that's, or not body, but you're like, your conscience, your sense of self, that you're, and sometimes these go hand in hand, I guess is what I also should say. These go hand in hand in the sense that they help one another. If you're feeling low, feeling down, low energy, you go to the gym. Going to the gym helps you kind of get that energy. It's boost that metabolism. It gives you that energy that you want, that you're looking for, right? Um, Likewise, that boost in, endorphins or whatever, that boost in testosterone, it'll help pick you up. It'll help, clear some of that fog, clear some of that haze, start kind of carrying yourself a little bit differently, start walking around a little bit more, understanding that, like, yo, okay, these are my goals for the day, these are the objectives that I set, this is what I got to do, this is what I got to take care of, this is what I'm going to do, right? um and that's your like founding, that's your foundation, that's your building blocks, right? And then once you start going to the gym, you start figuring out a workout regimen that works for you. You figure out, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to build muscle? Are you trying to have longer endurance? Are you trying to have more burst explosion? Are you training for combat? Are you training for like self defense or like active shooter trainings, things like that? Are you training to compete? Do you want to be a bodybuilder? Are you trying to do jujitsu and grappling and boxing, mixed martial arts? You got to figure out where you want to be to, or what you're trying to do. Again, where you're compartmentalizing these steps so that way you can achieve your goals. Um, what else? Like I said, I don't want this to drag on too long. Maybe I'll do more videos on it. I'll see, reception, how people really feel about it. But you don't have to look at yourself as a failure because we're all still on this journey. You don't have to look down on other people, whether it's other men. We help build each other up. whether it's women, because some bozo online tells you that it's a woman's fault. You got to, the buck stops here, the buck stops with you. And then you always got to put it together and you got to figure out what you're going to do. You got to figure out how you're going to make that change, how you're going to conduct yourself, and the kind of person you're going to be in private and in public. Um, like I said, if you enjoyed this conversation, my name's King. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share. I'd really like to hear your opinions on the matter, for real, for real. This is my first video like this, and I look forward to hearing more from you guys. This has been King. I'm outie. 5K.